You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hi, thanks for coming back again to Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. This week, I guess the theme is that I'm feeling loved or cherished. Something happened so unexpected, so out of the blue. I know some of you probably already know what it was, but it was so humbling to receive this love from people that I don't think I'm ever going to get over it, to be honest with you. It was at the start of our trip into the Shenandoahs, and I could not have been more surprised, nor could my friends when they saw what was happening. But we'll come back to that when we get to it. But first of all, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Sawyer.
When I hit the trail in 2014, I soon discovered that I come with the wrong water filter. Everybody else had a Sawyer squeeze. Eventually, I bought a squeeze and I loved it. I'm going again this year, and top of my list of things to buy was the new micro squeeze filter by Sawyer. Like all Sawyer stuff, it just works. You can filter up to 100,000 gallons, and their full-size squeeze filter comes with a lifetime warranty. Last year, believe it or not, more than 4 million people got clean water through a Sawyer water filter. But if you think that Sawyer is just about water filters, you could not be more wrong. Nope, they supply everything to protect you, both in the backcountry and the backyard. Protect your gear and clothes as I did with their permethrin fabric treatment, which is 100% odorless after drying. With all the ticks and bugs around, this is an absolute must. They also provide sunscreens and first aid products. Find out more by visiting Sawyer.com.
Day 78, 0 day. We had to take a day off this particular day because we decided we want to carry on hiking as a trail family. And Trigger has had a floater in his eye for a few weeks now. He was slightly concerned about it and called his own ophthalmologist, and they said to go and see somebody immediately, which of course is worrying for everybody. So he had an ophthalmologist appointment in Charlottesville, and I was still hiking, and Trigger was still hiking, and Ugg was still with us at the time. So we decided to just go and find somewhere to stay in Charlottesville. And somewhat typically, Cushy found us a beautiful Airbnb in Charlottesville. And so we invited along, obviously it was me, Ugg, Trigger, Cushy. We had Indiana J, who's Jason, and we also had Dodger Dog, who is the funniest girl. She really is funny. So it was nice to have this time off, and I was just determined to get 2 shows out, and I did those two shows. I wanted to have one which was the interview and one which was the normal sort of catch up. And because of what had happened, obviously with the killing the previous week, I just decided I was going to say something about it, and I got those shows out. I was very pleased that I did, to be honest with you, and they got a good response. But I also decided that the look I've had recently of me having a growing beard, half of which I appear to be eating when I'm eating my meals, I end up with mayonnaise in my beard. It was a shambles, really. So I decided to get rid of that, and I got rid of my beard, and I had a buzz cut as well. And in fact, when the team saw me after I'd had my beard shaved off, they hardly recognised me, and they decided not to call me Mighty Blue. They were going to call me Steve for a while because they were trying to get used to it. And we met in a lunch. We had this really nice lunch place, and I ordered a $1 million Bloody Mary. And do you know what a $1 million Bloody Mary gets you? It's a Bloody Mary with bacon in it. I mean, really, come on. That's not a $1 million Bloody Mary. But it was a kind of relaxing afternoon. Everybody was enjoying we really enjoyed the Airbnb. When we got there and we decided that we were going to cook, Dodger Dog stepped up and she cooked us a beautiful Filipino meal. Her mother has obviously taught her well and taught her how to cook Filipino. So we had that lovely thing. Now, I know that perhaps 1-2 people think we're doing this way too easily, and perhaps we are, but what a great way to do it. You know, I've still hiked every mile. I'm still exhausted every day. And if we decide we want to stay somewhere comfortable on our day off, why shouldn't we? And frankly, that's what we decided to do. And of course, the next day, Cushy was going to start hiking with us. She's been very stoic. You know, I know she feels she's been in purgatory somewhat. She's been between the hiking world and the non-hiking world. You know, she's been ferrying us around all over the place and allowing us to sort of pack very, very light, and has basically been slack packing us through the last few bunch of miles, while she hasn't been able to hike herself. But we knew the next day, day 79, was going to be the day that we hit the Shenandoah National Park. And that, of course, is very important, and she was going to come back and join us as well. So we had a great time on the Filipino meal, but we knew we were going to get down to business the next morning. So that was day number 78. I may have mentioned to you that I've been trying to record some of the Mighty Blue classes 2019, and I've really not recorded them terribly well. This recording is a whole lot better. I eventually managed to catch up with Lotte Anvret. I don't know if you remember her. We interviewed her on the show some weeks back, obviously, before I started this trip, and she wasn't starting till quite late. And I got her on the phone, and we chatted actually that afternoon of day 78. So here's what's happened to Lotte.
Hello.
Hey Lotte, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. No, I'm fine.
Good. So how's it been? We haven't spoken at all. So how's it been for you? Where are you now, right now?
Right now, I'm just before Damascus. The hostel is called the Rabbit Hole.
I stayed there with Rabbit and Cat.
Yes.
Yes, good
What
place.
a nice place.
It is a real nice place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how's your journey been so far? When did you start?
I start March 25th, a Monday, and then I hiked until give me a minute. I hiked to until Hot Springs.
Yeah.
And that was the Easter Sunday when I took a shuttle down there, because your Good Friday, Easter Friday, was the super rainy day, and I destroyed my foot.
Oh, really?
My right foot a little bit. Right. Yeah, and the day after, that's Easter Saturday, we hiked like 16.4 miles.
Right.
And my foot was bad, so, well, I had some problems with that after that, but before I had no problems whatsoever. So I had a really good hike.
Funny how it suddenly comes on, isn't it? So what did you do? Did you take some time off?
Yeah, I stayed at the Laughing Heart for a while.
Right.
I think I was there like 6 nights.
Oh, wow.
And there's a pretty good bad service here right now. Let's see if I can stand up and get better. I stayed there taking care of my foot, yeah. And then I hiked from Hot Springs the Saturday after Easter, up to
Irwin.
Yeah, to Irwin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and before Sam's Gap, there was a super nice waterfall, and I had a shower there because it was so warm that day. Nice. And I already had a bad cough, so the days after Sam's Gap, I felt more and more bad. So when I arrived to Irving, I visited a doctor, and I got pneumonia. I had pneumonia.
No.
Yeah, so I had to stay in Irving at Johnny's for a week also. So I had some really soft and restful days, yeah.
Right. So.
But great days.
So have you now recovered though?
No, I'm super fine. Yeah, I'm fine now. So I took a shuttle from there to the rabbit hole, and I don't have any antibiotics any longer. So yeah, I'm fine now.
Oh, good. So
I had a big rest.
So you've had 2 1-week breaks, and you're still going on. So what mile are you up to now?
Well, I don't know what mile, because I skipped the way between Irvine to here, so I'm not sure how long I actually walked.
Right.
But yeah,
but
I'm still I still have the possibility to do the 2,000 miles, but we will see about that. Yeah.
Right.
I won't have any showers. I won't have any waterfall showers anymore.
Yeah,
I promise you.
That is terrible. Was it really cold then?
It was a super warm day, but it was a super cold waterfall. So I actually felt almost shocked, and I kept the clothes on. I had a shower with clothes, and I kept my shirt and pants on because I wanted the cool feeling to stay.
Sure.
Well, I felt like I was a teenager, even though I'm 50. So.
So how are you finding the physicality of the trail? Are you finding it okay? You're doing longer miles now?
Well, I have rest for like almost 2 weeks, 10 days now. So, and I will stay for trail days because my daughter will come tomorrow.
Oh, right.
And yes, so I mean, I guess I will do longer miles when I start hiking again. I guess I forgot how to do super long days, but I did, 13 miles a day before.
Right. Well,
yeah, without problem. Yeah.
So when does your visa expire?
Well, I think I have this 6 months because I met a super strange man at the border. So he gave me those. Well, you have your time as your flights go home or something like that. I was like, okay, yeah. So I could change, and he's fine with that. I don't know. So if I realize that I don't have enough time, I will write a letter to the embassy and ask for more time and see if it's okay.
Well, I don't know the laws over here. Normally, I don't think they do that, but you just never know, do you? So when do you? I don't know what the law is over here, whether they allow you to extend or not. So you're still hoping to go the whole way there, are you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay.
And if I don't, I make a half flip flop. I go up there and hike south or something. Because I mean, for me, it's not just every mile. For me, it's the journey, meeting people. So.
Have you enjoyed yourself so far?
Oh yes, I love it.
Good.
I love it. I mean, meet all those people, and it's just around some familiar faces here. So yeah, it's nice, and I'm looking forward to the trail days, of course, because I mean, you meet so much people along the way, and it will be so fun to introduce all those people to my daughter.
I'm sure, yeah. Unfortunately, I won't be coming back because I'm in Shenandoah. I'm just about to start Shenandoah, so I won't be coming back myself. But what I'm hoping to do when I finish, and this is my plan, it may not work out, but if I do finish and if I do get to Gstaden, I might hire a car and come back down and try to do some trail for people who are following along behind. So you never know, I might still see you. Yeah,
that would be fun.
That'd be cool. Okay, but look, stay in touch, and I will try to call you again a few more 100 miles. It's not been easy to get these recordings, so we'll just have to see how that works out. All right? And good luck.
All right.
Good luck with the rest of your hike. All right.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
Thank you.
Take care. Be careful. Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Day 79, Rockfish Gap, mile 863.7 to Sawmill Run Overlook, mile 874.2, just 10.5 miles. This was going to be Cush's first day back, and we were going to slack pack again, and Cushy wasn't going to carry any pack at all. I took a small pack, and I think Trigger took a small pack as well. Ugg was going to go back to Trail Day, so he'd hired a car, and so he took us to Rockfish Gap where we started off, and we registered, and we got on the way, and it was me, Cushy, Trigger, Jason, which was Indiana J, and Dodger Dog has joined us now. So, but moving along and going quite nicely, and Cushy was feeling no pain. And we started trail karaoke. If you've never done it before, it's worth doing. Basically, you sing 5 songs, and people can, if they guess them right, and a car's just going past, as you can tell. If they guess who the artist was, then you get a point, and I think they get a point as well. I mean, the points became somewhat irrelevant, but what trail karaoke actually does, it guarantees you do not see any wildlife, because we were making a heck of a lot of noise, and I really got into it. There are a number of road crossings on this particular day, and this is where the magic happened. We were coming down a hill. We'd been singing, and I can't remember what it was I was singing, and I saw these 2 characters just past a fence, and they were kind of turned away from us, and I thought, there's a couple of dodgy characters, that's kind of weird, and they were, I've never been so dumbstruck in all my life. They turned round, and those of you who read my books or heard my story on the podcast know that I finished the trail with a guy called Liderknot, Ken Hall, and a lady called Patco or T-Bird, and they were there. Looking back now, these 4 or 5 days later, I still can hardly believe they were there. And the picture of me, which is going to be accompanying this show, is me completely gobsmacked that they thought enough of me to come down, and Liderknot came out from Georgia, and Pat came down from New York, to come down and wish me well and provide me with trail magic and just spend some time with me. It's humbling, I tell you, when that sort of thing happens to you. And they obviously just wanted to wish me well. And what they'd done, they'd set up trail magic at the next road crossing. They'd walk back towards us, expecting to find us. There'd been this back and forth between my wife Diane and them, and also Bruce Matson. He knew about it, and apparently the guy at Stanimals, a guy called Adam, who owned it, was also helping them with intelligence as to where I was, and so they pretty much knew where I was going to be. So they'd set up trail magic, as I say, at the next road crossing. They wanted to come and greet me. I could not have been more surprised. It was just amazing. So I said, well, what do we do now? They said, well, Liderknot said, I'm going to get Deb, who's his wife, she was there as well, to come and pick me up, and you walk on the next couple of miles and we'll see you at the next crossing. And we walked across the little next mountain, down a hill across a meadow, and I could see the trail magic set up. And I got quite emotional again that someone would do this for me. And it was something. It really was something. And that we stayed and had trail magic with them for a couple of hours. Well, probably only about 3/4 of an hour. And other hikers were having trail magic as well from them. And I said to Liderknot, what are you doing? He said, well, we're going to go back tomorrow. So they were going back. So I had that short period of time with them. But what an honour that they felt so inclined to come and help me and wish me best on my journey. I've just never been so shocked. It was magnificent. It really was. So we talk about from the sublime to ridiculous. Later on, Ugg picked us up. And because he was going to trail days, and we told him that people in trail days get dressed up, and I saw plenty of tight-fitting dresses when I was there, he came with a strange dress he'd bought somewhere, and he modelled it for us, which was kind of weird in its own way as well, but funny at the same time. So we then went down, we all decided to go to dinner at the Loft Mountain Wayside, because we were staying at the Loft Mountain campground. We'd got a couple of spaces there where you could fit in 3 or 4 tents. And Pat and Joe, her husband, were staying for a couple of nights, and they said, we're going to ferry you around and slap pack you if you want. And Pat was always the queen of slap packing, so we were delighted with that. So we went down there, had a few beers, had dinner at this wayside, Pat and Joe had bought s'mores in the evening. I'd never tried s'mores before. Set fire to several of them, as you can imagine. And we just had a wonderful evening, just hanging around. Joe made a fire. We were at these campsites, and me and Jason were on one of them, and everybody else was on the other one, and Cushy had a hammock there as well. It was just one of those evenings where I remember closing my eyes that night thinking, this could not have happened. You know, it was almost like unbelievable to me that somebody would do this. It was a humbling moment. And that was day number 79. Day 80. Sawmill Run Overlook, mile 874.2 to Amphitheatre Trail, mile 891.8, a 17.6 mile day. And remember, this was Cushy's second day back, and so to get a 17-mile day out of her was quite something. She did great. Arg came back to our campsite in the morning. He actually wasn't going down to trail days until later on that day, so very helpfully came back and helped take us all, along with Pat and Joe, back to Sawmill Run Overlook so we could carry on going northbound, because we do go southbound and northbound. It gets confusing sometimes, I must say. And it was one of those days, it was easy. I don't know why. I don't know whether I felt so great from what had happened the day before. The fact that Pat was with me was just terrific. She and Joe were actually not going to hike with us. They were going to find somewhere else to hike. They didn't feel that they could hike with, I guess, through hikers at this stage. And after Bruce's experience the week before, I'm not surprised. But they went off and did their thing, and they were going to come back later on, and we were all going to have a good time. And that's kind of what happened. It was an incredibly easy day. I think with Shenandoah, and my memory of Shenandoah is that the park is obviously made for day trippers and weekend warriors, and so there's nothing against that at all, by the way. But I think it's consequently far easier. The grade is far easier. There are rocks, but some of the rocks are some of the paths are wider. They're smoother. They're just better looked after, I guess. And so we found it a particularly easy day. And frankly, there's not much to say about it. We went up, we went down, we went up, went down. It was fine. And in fact, say the grade of this particular stretch was quite straightforward. But the idea was we were actually going backwards to get to the what was it called now? It was called Loft Mountain Campsite. And we really liked the idea of staying there again, so we left our stuff there so we could slap back yet again. And we got back to the camp store, and the camp store was so much cheaper than the wayside we'd drunk at and eaten at the day before. And beers, instead of being about $6.50, were $1.75. And when we were sitting there having 3 or 4 beers, which was lovely, a couple of guys turned up, Zipper and Mountain Calf. And they joined us and had a few drinks, and we invited them to camp with us. I think they were intending to go on, but we had enough space in our campsite, so we said, come and join us. And they came to join us, but in fact, we'd had to move our tent site. It's quite a complicated process of you have to book up at these different places, and somebody has said we couldn't stay where we were, so we had to move our campsite the next day, and then Cushy had to move into the campsite, and Trigger was there. It became a bit of a mess, actually, in many ways, but we were still at the original camp spots we'd been at. There was the next day we had to move. So Zipper and Mountain Calf came back and joined us. We had some beers, of course, and Zipper bought some hot dogs. So another night around the fire, having hot dogs, laughing, talking, and just spending time with other hikers. And it was another wonderful evening at the same place. Thoroughly enjoyable, and that was the end of day number 80. Day 81, Swift Run Gap, mile 909.2, southbound, back to the Amphitheatre Trail, mile 891.8. Another 17.4 miles day. I was sitting down at breakfast with Zipper, and he's a guy that he's had to buy a whole bunch of clothes. He's lost 60 pounds on the trail already. And I can see from his picture, he'd been a big lad but he was he's a handsome guy now. He had lots of chins before. He now just had the one chiseled chin, and he looked great. Looked really, really well. So I decided I'd take the opportunity having a chat with him. So here is Zipper. Okay, I'm here with a young guy called Zipper. Hi Zipper, how are you?
Hello, I'm great. How you doing, Blue?
Not too bad. And you have lost more weight than anybody I've heard of so far in this
Really?
trial. Yeah, definitely. So,
Okay.
So what did you start at, and what are you
started
now?
at 248 at the Atlanta airport, and I'm at 190. Last time I weighed myself.
Wow.
So that was a couple days ago.
You were just saying it's about a pound a day.
Yeah. About, a little under.
So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
My knees really hurt at first because of all the weight that was being, put on them day after day.
Sure.
But now, minus 60 pounds, I mean, I feel like they can handle anything.
Yeah, crikey. So you're seeing your wife in Harper's Ferry in a few days' time.
Yep, 6 days now. She's meeting me next Thursday.
So you'll be 6 pounds lighter.
Yeah, a little less, yep. If it keeps going the way it's going.
And has she seen you?
No.
You got new clothes, haven't you?
Yeah, I've had to buy several new pairs of pants. This is my second shirt. If I were to wear my original clothes right now, they would look like parachutes in the wind. They would be blowing all around.
So what have you? See, I know that when I lost 60 in the whole of the height last time, my pant size went down from 42 to 34. What have you done?
I went 38 to 32 so far. And this is actually, I have to wear paracord. You see that?
Yes.
Because it's getting loose now. It would still fall down.
Yeah. So what's your big takeaway so far from the trial? Have you enjoyed the people? You've enjoyed the adventure? What is it?
I've enjoyed the community most, I think.
Right.
The people. Yeah. The adventure second, but definitely the people first.
And have you been in a trail family?
I have, for actually the last 800 miles.
Right.
But around 800, we kind of separated. There's some people in front of me now and some people behind me.
You think you'll catch them up?
I hope so. Yeah. I'm sure I'll catch the two that are in front of me before Harper's Ferry because I'm on a timeline and they're not.
Yeah, but isn't it a wonderful thing though that you can go in and out of these families quite easily and you fit it? I mean, you joined us last night. We're on a campsite in Shenandoah and we saw you while we were drinking beer.
Yeah,
at the camp store. And
it was a pleasant surprise.
Just came and hung out with us and bought us hot dogs, which was great.
Yeah.
Really enjoyable.
Most definitely.
So when do you think you're going to finish?
I'm looking at halfway through August. I'm looking at 10 weeks from Harper's Ferry.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you expect? I mean, are you being careful now about how you lose this weight? Because I think that's one of the things I know that my wife had concern when I was doing this first time, how much weight I was losing so fast. Because you've got to be careful with that, haven't you, really?
Yeah, really you do.
So
I got to start watching my fats and proteins. I got to make sure I keep as much weight I can on.
Yeah, the problem is once you get into the thing of having fat and proteins, it suddenly becomes an important part of your life, doesn't it?
Right, yeah.
You've got to be careful when you finish.
Yeah.
And is this your first hike? First proper hike?
Yeah, my first proper hike that's longer than a week or two. Yeah, definitely.
Right. And what the differences you're finding?
The just waking up and hiking, going to sleep, and doing it all over again every day. That's something different.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a job, isn't it? Really,
it really is. It's my new full-time job.
Yeah,
you know.
And what do you do?
I did law enforcement for a couple of years.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. You got that range and.
This is just my driver's license, but I did have my key card in there for the building and stuff.
Oh right, yes.
Yeah.
So he keeps. I was wondering what it was. His law enforcement. I can see from your picture, you were a big guy, weren't you?
Yeah, you can see because my chin's a lot more chiseled now.
You got a proper. That's right. You got a chiseled chin. Exactly.
I know. I never looked at that. You mentioned it. Jeez.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Unfortunately, I won't be able to show that because he doesn't want to say his real name. Yeah. But look, I wish you well, and I'm glad you're doing great. You look as good as anybody on the trail because he's got nice new clothes and everything.
Yeah.
It looks great. Okay. Well, have a great trip and enjoy the rest of your journey.
Thanks a lot, Blue. Appreciate it.
Cheers, man.
What a nice fella he was, and he was. I think he looked slightly nervous about recording at first, but he relaxed a bit in the end. And even he was shocked, as I was shocked at his ID picture. He has lost a heck of a lot of weight, and he looks so much better for it. Now, this was much tougher, much more elevation than this day. It's as if the Shenandoahs decided to take the gloves off for a couple of days, and we had plenty of ups, plenty of downs. And frankly, by the time we got to within about a mile of the end, there was a turn off to our camp store where we do like to have a beer. And
I don't know. I just said, look, I can't do this. If we go and have a beer now, I'll never want to do that last mile to Amphitheatre Trail. And so we just went up and had water, and we had our water, and we said, let's save our beers and perhaps do some laundry later and have a shower and so on. So we took this little 200-yard side trail to the camp store. Then we went back down and started this last bit, which basically goes around Loft Mountain Campground. So we didn't think it would be that long. I tell you, that last mile went on for ages and ages and ages. So much so, I totally lost interest in going back to get our stuff to have a shower or do any laundry. I said, look, you can go whichever way you like, but I'm carrying on up the Amphitheatre Trail, which takes me right back to the camp store. And I'm going to have beers. So everybody else came that way as well. But what I haven't told you is that we had a very special day today. We saw our very first, and so far, only bear. And we were walking along, must have been about 3 miles from the end of the day. Came to a couple of day hikers. They said, there's a bear about a quarter of a mile back on the left, and he's not moving much. He's there, he's alive, but just watch out for him. So we started going ahead, quite slowly at first, and then we started moving forward, and suddenly Cushy held up a hand, and there, no more than, 30 feet into the undergrowth was a bear just looking at us. It wasn't a baby, it was, I think Trigger said it was a juvenile, and whatever that means. I don't know how old that is. It wasn't a big bear, but it was just lovely to see. These things, when you see them in the wild, are just so amazing. We'd already seen deer, by the way, also our first of the trip, or my first of the trip. 2 or 3 had come into camp the day before. It was lovely to see them. And then when we were drinking beers, they were wandering around by us as well. So we got back to the camp store, more beers and food, and a young lad called French Toast turned up. And he's 18, he's only just, or maybe 19, he's just got out of high school anyway, and he's hiking this by himself. And he was a little bit nervous about stealth camping. And stealth camping is where you don't camp in an official tent site, but he was going to have to camp by himself. And plenty of people had said to us that when they do that, there are bears outside their tent all night long, quite often. And he was a little bit nervous about that. So he said, come and stay in our campsite. So he did. When we were doing this last mile as well, we met a guy called Blacksmith, who was a really nice fella. And he warned us about a rattlesnake on the trail. And he said it was huge. He told us exactly where it was. And he'd seen it 3 or 4 minutes before. And I thought to myself, I was a bit nervous about it, I must admit. But, as soon as you get too close to it, it's going to rattle, so you stop. And he told us exactly where he saw it. We went up there, we were a bit nervous, but nothing happened, and we wandered on through. So we saw our bear, but no rattlesnake. But it was a fun day. So it was harder, and Cushy came through it very well. She's now done 2 17-mile days. And this, she's feeling no pain in the shin splints, so she's done really, really well. But that's the end of day number 81. Day 82, Swift Run Gap, mile 909.2 to Melam Gap, mile 923.6, 14.4 mile day. When we plan and we have a few beers the night before and we chat, we try to work out, and it's mainly, to be fair, Cushy and Dodger now, try to work out where we're going to go and how we're going to get there. And we didn't have a ride to show up. Didn't have a ride to take us, rather, back to the trail. But because Dodger tried to get tried to encourage a young man to take us back to the trail, and this is very breezy, as you can probably hear. I'm not sure how well this is coming through. Maybe that's better. He didn't show up, so she was talking to us, one of the neighbouring campers, and there's a young lady called Kristen, and she was there with her young son Sawyer. They were chatting about through hiking. She got very excited about the through hiking and was impressed by Dodger having done the PCT before. And she said she'd take us. Her and her husband would take us back to the trail. So they drove us there and gave us some soda to try out. It was really lovely. And I'd already seen that one of my list of people who said they would help me on the trail, there was a lady called Penny, and she was working at the Lewis Mountain Campground, and that was going to be our destination that day. So we wondered whether it would be possible for Penny to take us somewhere later on that day and pick us up and take us either back to camp where we were going to be, or somewhere she could suggest. And Penny wrote to me and said yes, she'd love to do it, and she'd because she actually works at Lewis Mountain Campground, which is amazing. And so she recommended a hostel in Luray. So we said, right, okay, we'll go there then. And she said she would take us all the way from Shenandoah all the way to Luray, which was such a lovely thing to do. So we hiked to Lewis Mountain Campground, and as with all these campgrounds, they're really nicely set up, and they've got a great camp store. And I walked in, and we were all chatting and buying stuff. I'd never met Penny, remember? And I walked up to the counter to pay. She said, I'm Penny. She was there. She said she had her partner Nadine manage the place there and live in the building, and they were there. And such a nice woman, such a nice couple, in fact. And they at Dodger Dog's urging, she also took our gear. And because Dodger Dog said, well, perhaps she can slack pack us, because we had a full pack by then. And so she said, yeah, of course, put your stuff in the car. So the two girls just had their poles and a bottle of water, and I put the water in my backpack. I had a backpack and I carried most people's water. And we walked on to Melam Gap, where we were going to meet Penny. When we got there, and there were loads of day hikers, by the way, around, and section hikers, and tons of cars at this gap. There was one big group of hikers there, and everybody, we were waiting for Penny because we got there a bit earlier than we'd expected. And, people milling around, talking and chatting and so on. And we were just lying on the ground in the car park. And we got into Penny's car when she arrived, and took our stuff in, and she was taking us to the Open Arms hostel in Luray. And Trigger, of all things, left his poles. I mean, I've done that myself in the past. It is irritating, and he was really, really upset by it. But really, there was nothing we could do once we got. He didn't realise until we got to Luray, and so we said, well, we can go back tomorrow. Penny very kindly went back there and checked to see if they were there. She said she couldn't find them at all. So poor old Trigger didn't know what to do. The hostel, Alison runs a hostel. We all went out to dinner in the evening, and she joined us actually, and her son. And we had a nice meal, nice southern meal. And then she took us to this ice cream place where I think Trigger ordered a small. Dodger Dog ordered a medium, and I ordered a large. I can't believe the size of the large. It was about a foot long, just huge amount of ice cream, chocolate and vanilla ice cream. And then she took us to Walmart for a restock. So she was very, very helpful moving us around. I say Penny tried to find the poles, couldn't find them, and we thought we'd lost them. So Alison at the hostel said, well, go to the hiker box, because I think there are 2 poles there. So he took them. He was going to take them for the next day, see if he could find his own, but we weren't very hopeful he'd find his own. So it was a kind of a sad end to day number 82. Day 83, Melam Gap, mile 923.6 to Skyland Resort, mile 934.1, a 10.5 mile day, which gets you right up to date. This was all planned, and this, once again, Cushy has been great at organising these things for all of us, takes everybody into account. And as you know, I love my golf, and this was really trying to get me to watch the last round of the PGA golf major tournament. And it was they planned it so we'd be doing a 10-mile day into Skyland. We'd get there by lunchtime. We'd be able to settle down. And you know what? That's exactly what happened. Now, on the way back, Trigger was a little bit tense in the car. He'd had his spare poles he'd found in the hiker box, but he was so hopeful he was going to find his poles. And, I'm such a believer that hikers in general are to be trusted. And he found his poles exactly where he'd left them. He knew exactly where they would be, and they were there, lying in the grass, exactly where he left them. So we were just delighted for him. And the rest of the day, frankly, this breeze is really getting up, so I apologise. The rest of the day was just a breeze for her, funnily enough, just a breeze for all of us. The climbs were not difficult. As I said, Shenandoah is definitely a great place for anybody really to try out whether they like hiking. The paths are easy. There's a few climbs, and you're meant to get some climbs, and there are a few rocks. Some of the rocks were quite sharp nearer the top as well. But generally, we had a beautiful hike of 10 miles, and we got here in about just over 4.25 hours, something like that. We'd booked a cabin in Skyland, and these cabins are tiny little things, but they're very, very nice. Trigger and I have got a single bed each. Then there's a bathroom between us and the girls' room. The girls have got a double bed, and it's a really nice place. So I jumped in the shower. We all got showered, got cleaned up, headed up to the bar, had food, drink, and of course the golf. I got the golf turned on. I was set for the rest of the day. I wasn't going to move till it finished, which was about 6:30 or 7 o'clock, something like that. And it was great. And more people showed up. And a lot of these youngsters, because the trail takes you right close to Skyland, as it takes you right close to Lewis Cabins, it takes you right close to Loft Mountain. You can choose to go in there, you can eat there, you can get food from the stores. It's a great way of resupplying and really enjoyable. So Jellyfish and Robot turned up. Jellyfish is a young guy, and Robot, they met on the trail and they hiked together. They both wear black shorts and black t-shirts, so they're very recognisable on the trail. Then Blacksmith, the young guy who'd introduced us, or told us that there was a possible rattlesnake further on the trail. We saw him, he turned up. Another lovely man. He's getting off the trail soon to meet his wife in Washington, D.C. for 4 days. And then Indiana J turned up with his girlfriend, Sam. I've got to tell you, he's a very cool guy, Indiana J. He's to treat his girlfriend, he bought for her an Airbnb experience of a goat cuddling session. I couldn't think of anything more revolting personally, but she particularly loved it, and he seemed to quite enjoy it as well. And they stayed in a treehouse, so that was pretty cool and pretty romantic, I suspect. We were all chatting away. It was nice to be in there. We were all clean and showered and feeling really good about the day. And we've hiked now 70 odd miles of Shenandoah. Cush's leg is holding up well. She's leaving us in about 5 days to go back home for her daughter's graduation. We've lost Ugg, but he may be coming back soon. Trigger, obviously, and I are going to be carrying on for some time. And Dodger Dog, hopefully she'll stay with us as well. And Indiana J may be with us as well. We just don't know. But that's the nature of these tramlers. They come and they go. And you know what? That's kind of nice. I'm going to be just keep moving forward, and I'm feeling really good. I had this problem with my little toe. I told you a few days ago. I'll be taking ibuprofen, and it seems to be working well. My boots are being changed out by Oboes. The delivery was screwed up a bit, and I've now forwarded it to another place where we're going to be staying on Wednesday night. So I'm going to have new boots. I'm ready to go for the last 1,000 miles. But we're going to be crossing 1,000 miles within the week, which is quite something. And when I said right at the very beginning, I felt loved and cherished and embraced, really, by, Leidenot and T-Bird showing up, and with Leidenot's wife, Deb, and T-Bird's husband, Joe. It was absolutely wonderful. I don't think you can really... It's difficult for you to understand how wonderful it is when something like that happens, so unexpected. And when you're on the trail, when all those emotions are heightened, how wonderful it is when someone does something like that. I mean, that's trail magic par excellence. It really is. And then Penny taking us all the way to Luray, and I reached out to her and she said, yes, I'd love to help. So people are so helpful, and I do feel cherished by people at the moment. I'll see you next time.